There's a moment in life when the noise of the world quiets just enough for the soul to hear something deeper. A calling, a pull, a message etched not in ink, but in energy. If you found yourself here, listening, feeling the hair rise on your arms, it's not by chance. You've stepped into alignment with a truth long buried under expectations, pain, and noise. And that truth is this: you are not ordinary. You never were. For too long, the world has tried to make you forget. It wrapped you in routine, told you to keep your head down, convinced you to silence your instincts. But something inside you refused. Something within you stayed awake, even while the world around you slept. That quiet resistance, that unspoken knowing. It's not rebellion, it's remembrance. You've always known you were meant for more, even if you couldn't name it. There is a law older than time, deeper than language, woven into the fabric of this universe. A sacred rule that governs energy, intention, and truth. And according to that law, when harm is sent toward a soul chosen for divine purpose, the universe does not remain still. It might not act immediately, but it always moves, not with a whisper, with a roar, the echo of that roar. It's what brought you here, chosen one. You are not just a person. You are a disruption, a divine interruption to the false narrative spun by those too afraid of your light. Your very existence challenges the illusions that hold others in chains, that unease you spark in them. It's not your burden, it's their recognition. They see your fire, even if they pretend it's smoke. Every betrayal you've endured, every door slammed in your face, every time you gave love and received absence in return, it wasn't to break you. It was to reveal what cannot be broken. The thorns thrown at your feet were never meant to pierce you. They were tests, and you didn't just pass. You transcended. You're not here by accident. You're here on assignment. The universe has been rearranging itself to bring you to this moment. Do you feel it? That trembling in your chest, that stirring in your gut, it's your spirit remembering what your mind tried to forget. You are the seed they tried to bury, never realizing seeds grow in darkness. What they mistook as your burial was your planting. And now, the bloom begins. You were mocked because you didn't conform, questioned because you didn't settle, abandoned because you didn't break. But none of that diminished you. It defined you, and every setback was a setup. Every rejection was redirection. You were being pulled away from what was small, so you could rise into what was sacred. Now here you are, on the edge of awakening. But before we go further, I have one question. Are you ready to stop living like everyone else? Are you ready to start owning the truth that you are different for a reason, for a purpose, for a destiny too large for the ordinary path? Because once we begin, there is no going back. This isn't just a message. It's an activation, a mirror, a doorway, a flame. Step through and watch what awakens within you. This is the beginning, the remembering, the rise. Welcome, chosen one. Let's speak plainly. Some things had to fall apart. Some people had to walk away. Some dreams had to burn to the ground before you could see what was always meant for you. And I know that hurts. I know there were nights when your heart begged for answers that never came, when your soul screamed into silence and only echoes returned. But listen closely now, because here lies a truth they never taught you. Rejection is divine protection. You were never meant to carry everything. Some loads weren't yours to bear. Some people weren't meant to travel with you to your next chapter. And though it felt like loss, though it felt like abandonment, it was grace in disguise. The universe saw what you could not. The lies whispered behind your back, the sabotage masked as friendship, the envy veiled as support, and it removed what was never real. Chosen one, your path demands clarity, not clutter, elevation, not distraction. That's why those people left. That's why those opportunities vanished. Not because you were unworthy, but because you were too sacred to be touched by hands that only knew how to ruin. You prayed for strength, and life answered with storms to strip away what could not stand with you in the fire. And yes, it's painful. Growth often is. But think back, didn't their absence make room for your presence? Didn't the silence become the space where your voice finally rose? They didn't reject you. They released you, so you could rise unbound, free from expectations that dimmed your glow, free from attachments that tangled your wings. You were never meant to fit in. You were designed to fly. There's a sacred irony here. The very people who turned their backs on you will be the ones watching you walk into rooms they can't access. They thought leaving you would break you, but all it did was build you. They thought excluding you would erase you, but it only made your light impossible to ignore. You see, your value was never tied to their validation. Your destiny was never in their hands, and their departure wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of a deeper alignment, one that puts you on a path not just of success, but of significance. So let go of the doors that closed. Don't knock, don't beg, don't chase, because what's meant for you is already on its way, and it knows exactly how to find you, not because you shouted the loudest, but because you stood still in your truth. Remember, this divine subtraction always precedes sacred multiplication. When you lose what was never yours, you make space for what always was. Keep walking. What's coming next won't need convincing. It will recognize you the moment you arrive. Chosen one. There's a reason your presence shifts the energy in every room you enter. It's not arrogance. It's awareness. You carry something sacred, something ancient, something not easily explained but deeply felt. And because of that, not everyone can handle you. You are not meant to be handled carelessly. You are not meant to be passed around like a common opinion or discarded like yesterday's trend. You are rare. You are resonance. And your worth is not up for negotiation. There's a divine reason some people fumbled you. They mishandled your spirit because they could not comprehend its magnitude. They approached your heart with muddy hands. Unaware they were holding a diamond, they tried to fit you into spaces built for lesser things, hoping you'd shrink to make them comfortable. But the truth is, they never had the capacity to hold you, not because you were too much, but because they were too little. You've been walking through life feeling like an alien in familiar places. That's not your imagination. That's your soul alerting you were never meant to belong where truth is feared and masks are currency. You were made for spaces that honor clarity, relationships that reflect light, environments that challenge you to rise, not question your glow. And so, the universe put a shield around you. It closed doors. It ended connections. It rerouted your steps, not to isolate you, but to insulate you. Because sacred things require sacred boundaries, and your life, your path, your calling it is sacred. Every time someone tried to harm you, life took note. Every careless word, every subtle jab, every act of sabotage, it all became fuel for your elevation. Because when you are chosen, even your pain is prophetic. It births purpose. It sharpens sight. It deepens grace. So here's what you must do now. Stop explaining yourself to those who refuse to understand. Stop lowering your frequency to match their comfort zone. Stop giving your light to people who choose the shadows. You are not here to blend. You are here to bless. And from this moment on, let your presence be permission to walk away from anything that mishandles your magic. The world doesn't need another echo. It needs your truth. Guard it, protect it, and above all, honor it. You were never meant to be handled. You were meant to be honored. Pain has a way of introducing us to the parts of ourselves we never knew existed. It doesn't come to destroy, it comes to reveal. And chosen one, if you've been walking through the fire, understand this, it wasn't punishment. It was preparation. There is no crown without the crucible, no wisdom without the wound, no elevation without the excavation of what no longer serves you. Every betrayal you've faced, every tear you've cried, every sleepless night you've endured it all, had a purpose. It wasn't to crush you, it was to craft you. You see, people look at you now and wonder how you carry so much strength. What they don't know is that every ounce of power in your presence was purchased with pain. They see your resilience, but not the nights you bled for your peace. They hear your voice, but not the silence you had to survive. Chosen one. The ache in your spirit was not an indication of your weakness. It was the sound of your soul breaking free from illusions. Your suffering wasn't random. It was targeted, strategic, divine. You were being stripped, not to be diminished, but to be redesigned. The universe knew your next chapter required a stronger version of you, so it let the fire touch you, but never consume you. It allowed heartbreak to visit, but not to stay. It permitted loss to shape you, but never define you, because in every pain was a hidden promise. In every fall, a future rise, and in every crack, a new light waiting to pour through. Let go of the question, why did it hurt so much instead? Ask, what did it birth in me? Because every scar on your heart is a signature of survival, a mark that says, I passed through the flames and came out refined. You weren't broken, you were forged, not abandoned, but chosen for a fire that would crown you in gold only pain could unlock. This is your reminder. The throne wasn't built on comfort. It was carved in the chaos. And you, chosen one, are no longer who you were before the storm. You're stronger, wiser, fireproof, and now finally ready to reign. There's a unique kind of heartbreak that comes from watching a door close you swore was meant to open. You prayed. You planned. You positioned yourself with faith so firm it felt impossible to be denied. And yet, the door shut. The opportunity disappeared. The answer was no. But chosen one, what if the rejection wasn't a barrier, but a blessing in disguise? What if the door that refused you was actually a detour away from something that would have destroyed your destiny? When you're chosen, not every path is permitted. Not every room is assigned. Some doors are sealed, not because you lacked worth, but because you carried too much light for the darkness inside. Your spirit knew. Your intuition whispered, but your hope tried to hold on anyway. Let it go. Not with bitterness, but with reverence. Because now you know what doesn't open is just as holy as what does. The rejection was a redirection. The closed door was a divine course correction. And in that denial was protection. Your heart couldn't see. You were being rerouted, not rejected. There were conversations behind smiles, burnout behind paychecks, betrayal behind embraces, and the universe, in its mercy, said, not this one, not here, not for you. Every no was a yes to something greater. Every delay was a declaration, you are being saved for something sacred. You don't need to convince closed doors to open. You don't need to chase what crumbled. What's aligned with your purpose won't make you beg. It will recognize you the moment you arrive. So bless the door that wouldn't budge. Honor the path that turned you around. And walk forward knowing that your steps are not wasted. They are led. Chosen one. You are not behind. You are not being punished. You are being placed. And where you're going, every door will swing open without force, without fear, and without apology. That's the revelation, that's the release, that's the rise. It's time we stop pretending that opposition is accidental. Chosen one. The attacks, the whispers, the energy shifts when you walk into the room. None of it is random. It's recognition. The opposition is confirmation. You've been wondering why the pressure seems to intensify the more you align, why the criticism sharpens when you finally find your voice. It's because your light makes people uncomfortable. Your presence shakes foundations, and your purpose cannot be ignored. Just like Daniel in the lion's den, you were elevated quietly, but your favor roared so loudly, even the snakes couldn't pretend not to notice. Daniel wasn't loud, he wasn't flashy, but his favor drew attention from kings and from enemies, just like yours is now. You're not being attacked because you're weak. You're being attacked because your calling carries weight. You see through deception. You feel hidden agendas. You disrupt systems built on control. That's not paranoia. That's precision. And every time you choose truth over comfort, every time you show up when it would be easier to shrink, you threaten the ones addicted to illusion. They don't hate you. They fear what you represent. So stop underestimating what you're facing and stop underestimating the power that shields you. Yes, the opposition is real, but so is your protection. So is your anointing. So is the invisible army walking beside you. They plot, but it won't prosper. They whisper, but it won't stick, because chosen ones are untouchable. Not because they never face battle, but because they never face it alone. Let them come. Let them talk. Let them try. Your presence is already proof that the atmosphere has shifted, and no weapon formed against you will ever be enough to stop what's already in motion. You don't have to fight. Just keep rising. The opposition only proves you're on the right path. Chosen one. There's something they don't tell you about favor. It's heavy. It draws eyes you didn't ask for, envy you didn't earn, and opposition you never provoked. You didn't seek the spotlight. You didn't chase the crown. But favor found you, and with it came fire. The glow they see, it cost you. The peace you carry, it came from war. And the blessings that fall on you like rain, they're soaked in silent sacrifices no one witnessed. People assume favor is effortless, but you know better. Favor isolates before it elevates. It disrupts before it delivers. It offends before it opens. Your alignment offends those who've built their identity on pretending. Your clarity shakes those still hiding behind noise. Your peace unsettles their chaos. And so, they talk. They withdraw. They attack. Not because you've changed, but because your light revealed what they kept hidden. You weren't chosen to be liked. You were chosen to be legendary. And legendary people don't bend for comfort. They stand for truth. They walk in rooms with silent power. They carry a presence that cannot be diluted. Yes, jealousy comes with the assignment. Yes, misunderstanding is part of the contract. But so is divine covering. So is undeniable breakthrough. So is access that can't be explained. Let them whisper. Let them stare. Let them label what they can't understand. Every eye on you is a reminder your favor is active. Every false friend that falls away is proof your path is rising. Don't apologize for what you carry. Don't dim to soothe the insecure. Don't shrink to survive. You were built to disrupt, to elevate, to be seen not for ego, but for example. So walk boldly. Let your glow speak louder than their gossip. And remember, you weren't chosen to blend in. You were chosen to leave a mark. Let them feel the weight. Because the weight of favor was made for your shoulders and yours alone. You've been seeing things others can't. Feeling truths buried beneath smiles. Sensing shifts before they surface. And for a long time, you thought something was wrong with you. But chosen one, that's not a flaw. That's a gift, a sacred sight. You were given eyes to see beyond illusion, to detect what isn't said, to feel what's hidden behind energy. And while others call it paranoia, heaven calls it perception. This is why you walk away from rooms others are desperate to enter. This is why you distance yourself from people everyone else praises. This is why you feel heavy in places where laughter echoes. You're not imagining it. You're interpreting it. Chosen ones are seers, not because they want to be, but because they need to be. Your assignment requires discernment. Your path demands vision, not the kind born from sight, but from spirit. Stop explaining your moves to those who can't see the battlefield beneath your silence. Stop justifying your distance to people who only understand surface. You move different because you see different. And that's not arrogance. That's alignment. You weren't called to be understood by everyone. You were called to navigate through noise and lead through clarity. And while they mock what they don't comprehend, you're building something they'll never be able to dismantle because they can't see it. So protect your sight, guard your gift, and stop shrinking to fit into blind spaces. You weren't given this vision to entertain. You were given it to lead. See clearly, move silently, and trust that your eyes were never meant for the ordinary. They were shaped for revelation. In a world obsessed with talent, it's easy to forget the true source of elevation. People applaud gifts. They celebrate charisma. But chosen one, here's the hidden truth: favor isn't activated by talent. It's activated by obedience. You weren't chosen because you were the most skilled. You were chosen because you were willing to follow a path even when it made no sense, because you kept showing up when no one clapped, because you stayed faithful in the shadows. Obedience is what moves mountains. It's what unlocks doors talent can't even find. It's the silent yes that echoes louder than the world's applause. Some people want favor without discipline, platforms without process. They want spotlight without sacrifice. But not you. You've walked the hard way. You've obeyed when ego begged you to retaliate. You've built quietly when no one noticed, and heaven took note. That's why the shift is coming. That's why the doors are swinging open. Not because of how gifted you are, but because of how grounded you've become. Obedience is your anointing, and it separates you from the crowd. It humbles you before it honors you. It empties you before it elevates you. And now, because you proved you could be trusted, favor is flowing in ways that defy logic. Let others chase applause. You chase alignment. Let others perform. You stay planted, because in the realm of the chosen, obedience is the currency of heaven. And you, chosen one, are rich beyond measure. Chosen one, there's a silence that feels like stillness, but it's not. It's strategy, a sacred hush before the heavens roar. You've been in a season of waiting, of wondering, of watching others rise while you remain hidden. But don't mistake the quiet for absence, the stillness for stagnation. You are not being overlooked. You are being prepared. There is a shift coming, a sudden, divine interruption that doesn't knock, doesn't ask, doesn't wait. It just arrives. And when it does, everything changes. The momentum you've been praying for, the breakthrough you've been fasting for, the alignment you've been aching for, it's closer than it seems. But here's the truth: you have to be ready. Because when the door opens, it won't wait for your doubts to catch up. When the wave hits, it won't pause for your insecurities to settle. This is not the time to be distracted. This is the hour to be focused, grounded, and aligned. Clean your space, clear your energy, lock in your spirit, because what's coming will not whisper. It will roar. This shift isn't coming to everyone. It's coming to those who've been hidden in discipline, sharpened in silence, forged in obscurity, the ones who didn't need the spotlight to keep building, the ones who were faithful with little now, being trusted with much. You don't need to force it. You don't need to chase it. Just be in position. Because this shift will be sudden. And when it comes, it will not just elevate you. It will announce you. Welcome to the moment you were made for. The wait wasn't a punishment. It was the prelude. Now rise. The shift is already in motion. Awakening sounds beautiful until it begins. Because when the light starts to rise, doesn't just illuminate your path, it exposes everything you were never meant to carry. And chosen one, that's when it starts to cost you. The cost of awakening is not just discomfort, it's detachment from illusions, from old identities, from people who preferred you asleep because your silence validated their control. You begin to lose things, some slowly, some all at once. Friendships that once felt unbreakable begin to crumble under the weight of your clarity. Dreams that once excited you begin to feel too small. Environments that once held you now feel too tight. That's not regression. That's expansion. You are shedding skin, not because you are broken, but because you are outgrowing what no longer aligns. And with every layer that falls, a deeper truth is revealed. You realize that peace comes at the price of people-pleasing, that freedom comes through fire, that purpose asks you to walk alone before it trusts you with others. Yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's heavy, but that's the cost of rising. The world told you that awakening would feel like bliss, but real awakening feels like unraveling. It feels like dying to everything false so you can finally live in what's real. And yet, the cost is worth it, because once you awaken, you stop surviving and start living. You stop shrinking and start standing. You stop begging and start becoming. So if your life feels like it's falling apart, maybe it's not falling apart. Maybe it's falling into place. Chosen one. The cost of awakening is high, but the return eternal. Keep going. The path may be narrow, but it leads to everything your soul has been waiting for. There's a language older than words, one not spoken through mouths, but through moments. And chosen one, if you've ever felt a chill when no wind blew, or seen patterns repeat with impossible precision, you've already heard it. It's the language of signs. You were never meant to navigate this life alone. The universe has been speaking to you since the beginning. Not in noise, but in nuance. A number on a clock, a whisper in a dream, a stranger's words that hit too deep to be coincidence. These aren't random. They are coded messages sent from the divine, wrapped in ordinary moments, waiting for the awakened eye to see. The problem is never the lack of signs, it's the lack of stillness. The world is loud, distracting, designed to numb your intuition, but silence. That's where symbols start to sing. Start paying attention. That repeated number you keep seeing, it's not your imagination. That sudden urge to walk away. It's not anxiety, it's alignment, the missed call, the detour, the unexpected delay. All of it is guidance in disguise. Chosen one. The divine rarely shouts. It nudges, it whispers, and it requires your trust before it reveals its full meaning. You've been asking for direction. The signs are already here. Look again. Watch what repeats. Watch what resists. Watch what resonates. Because when you're in alignment, the universe leaves breadcrumbs. And when you follow them with faith, they become doorways. You are not lost. You are being led. Learn the language, live the symbols, and let your path be revealed through the whispers of the unseen. Chosen one. Let's tell the truth. Awakening often feels like abandonment, not because you're unloved, but because you've been removed from noise, from distraction, from people who couldn't walk where you're headed. This is sacred loneliness. It's the space between who you were and who you're becoming, a wilderness with no map, no applause, and no certainty, just silence. But in that silence, something holy stirs. You learn how to hear your own voice again. You rediscover your rhythm. You find out that your worth was never in the crowd, but in your core. Yes, it's isolating, but it's also intentional, because solitude doesn't break chosen ones. It builds them. It teaches discernment. It deepens intuition. It separates the genuine from the counterfeit. The world told you that loneliness meant something was wrong, but in the spirit, loneliness is often a sign that everything is finally aligning, because elevation requires elimination, and sometimes what's being removed is simply making space for what's real. You weren't left behind. You were pulled aside, like prophets in caves, like warriors in waiting, like kings before coronation. So if you feel alone, don't panic. Lean in. There are revelations hidden in your solitude, strengths being sharpened in your silence. And when your season shifts, you'll realize the loneliness was not a void. It was a vault, a place where your purpose was preserved until the world was ready to receive it. Sacred loneliness isn't a punishment. It's preparation. And soon, you'll see why it had to be this way. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey where the quiet strength within begins to stir. It doesn't rise with noise or bravado. It rises like fire from the ashes, ancient and undeniable. This is the return of the inner warrior. You've spent seasons being refined. You've been broken open, pulled apart, scattered like stars across the night of your own becoming. But now, the pieces are coming back together, and what's being formed is something the world cannot tame. The inner warrior doesn't fight for ego. It fights for essence. It fights for purpose. It doesn't react, it responds. With clarity, with wisdom, with fire that knows where to burn. You've been quiet long enough, hiding, healing, holding back. But now is the time to rise, not with chaos, but with conviction. This warrior within you doesn't wear armor to hide. It wears it to remember. Every scar is a reminder that you didn't just survive, you transformed. You don't need permission to take up space. You don't need validation to move forward. Your soul carries the evidence. Your energy carries the proof. Let the world call it a comeback. But you know the truth. You were never gone. You were just gathering. And now, you rise not as a reaction to what broke you, but as a revelation of what couldn't. Chosen one, your inner warrior has returned, not to fight battles from the past, but to lead you into the future with power, peace, and unshakable purpose. Welcome back. It's time to take your place. The winds will howl, the ground may tremble, but chosen one, you weren't built to break. You were built to walk the unshakable path. It's not the easiest road. It's not the most popular, but it's the one that leads you where few dare to go, into purpose, into power, into peace that no storm can steal. People will question your choices, doubt your direction, even mock your mission. But let them, because your steps are not guided by trends. They're aligned with truth. You've learned how to trust your pace, how to walk when you're weary, how to move without a map but with divine instinct. And the beauty of this path, it sharpens your senses, it strengthens your spirit, it anchors your soul. While others chase the fast route, you've chosen the faithful one. And that choice, it's what separates the awakened from the asleep. This path demands consistency over clout, obedience over optics, purpose over popularity, and that's what makes it unshakable. Storms may come, people may leave, plans may shift, but what's rooted in the divine cannot be uprooted by man. You walk this path not because it's easy, but because it's eternal. So plant your feet, lift your head, and keep going. The unshakable path may be narrow, but it leads to everything you were created to become.